What's poppin', people? It's Dante. This morning we're going to be discussing how to overcome fear in street photography. Do you think when I pressed the shutter here at this scene on the front lines of conflict in Palestine that I was fearful? Of course I was. I was probably shaking when I made this picture. However, through mustering up courage, I was able to go out there onto the front lines of life, close to humanity. And ultimately, I believe that photography has nothing to do with photography. Photography has everything to do with how you engage with humanity out there in the open world, experiencing life. And the photographs that we make reflect our courage. They reflect our heart. And so, in order to cultivate courage, one must be a confident photographer. And so, in this video, we're going to be discussing a few steps and a few ideas, a few thoughts about how to become a more confident photographer in order to conquer fear in street photography. And I think this is going to be a very beneficial video for anyone who's just getting started with street photography, because I'm going to give you some practical advice and even share with you some behind the scenes videos of me on the street in order to give you an idea of how to mitigate fear and cultivate courage. The first mindset shift that we should adopt as street photographers is recognizing that your street photography is valuable. Your photography matters. You're documenting history and the human experience. And I believe if you go out there with intention and you're confident with your head up, your shoulders back, your eyes wide open, you're smiling, you're not afraid to engage with humanity, you're not afraid to chat with the security officers, the janitors, the strangers on the street, you'll be able to go out there on repeat with confidence. And once again, I still feel fear. Fear is normal. When I pressed the shutter at the front lines of conflict, I was fearful. When I walk the streets of Philadelphia and I see something that I'm apprehensive about photographing, I'm fearful. But I cultivate confidence and courage in order to go out there closer and closer to life. And so recognizing that your photography matters and adopting this mindset and going out there with intention should hopefully get you to that first step of overcoming and conquering your fear. And so the most practical suggestion I have for you is to make self-portraits. If you're out there photographing strangers candidly and you're going to do this whole street photography thing, you might as well get comfortable in front of the camera. This will not only build you confidence, but it will also help you empathize with your subjects. And so I really encourage you to become more comfortable in front of the camera. Think about it. If you're taking photos of other people, take photos of yourself too. It's only normal, I think, actually, to become comfortable in front of the camera, to understand the dynamics of what it's like to be in front of the camera will allow you to not only build confidence, but also it will help you understand composition, lighting. I like to play with my self-portraits and make them more interesting through the dynamics of lighting. And it's something I find to not only build confidence, but again, build empathy for your subjects. As we're out there taking photos of strangers, we might as well turn the camera on ourselves. And so the most practical tip and advice that I have for anyone who's getting started with street photography is to make some street portraits. And while this isn't something I use in my process daily, I like just making candid photos, moving on. I don't necessarily ask for permission or engage with people that much as a street photographer. I kind of just want to make my photos and move on. But in order to build confidence, in order to build courage as a street photographer, a very practical idea is to get comfortable with confrontation. Confrontation is inevitable. Some people will be upset with you. Some people might tell you to delete the photograph or tell you to not take my photograph. And I believe that street portraits will help you ease into this practice of making candid street photos. And so not only will it help you get comfortable with confrontation, but it will also help you build the social skills that I believe is necessary to go out there and to document humanity. And so street portraits will help you handle rejection gracefully. If you're out there and you get rejected through asking for permission, it'll build you the courage and the experience to go out there and deal with confrontation. And sometimes when you engage with strangers on the streets, you'll create meaningful connections and have a more fruitful experience through making these sort of portraits and talking with people, I think it's a good thing generally. You know, my favorite thing to do is to just chat with the janitors. I love chatting with the security officers that I see that are walking around the city, and just getting comfortable with being social, because at the end of the day, we're photographing life. We're engaging with humanity. And so this is a very practical tip. I think this is really useful. Another side note or a side tip is, if you want to get comfortable with making some portraits of people and you want to do the whole street portrait thing to build confidence and to build courage, pick up an Instax camera. If you want to make the process of making portraits easier for yourself, you can simply gift in the moment a physical Instax print, and it'll help you ease into this practice of making the portraits without having to get their phone number. What's your Instagram, or what's your email, right? You can simply give them a physical print right there in the moment as you make the portrait, and recognize that the act of making these portraits, it's simply to build confidence. It's to cultivate courage and to get comfortable with confrontation and give you the experience that you need to build these social skills and to go out there and to conquer your fear. The street portrait isn't something that you really need to be so serious about, so get an Instax camera and gift that picture to the stranger right there in the moment. And this, I believe, will be the key, the first ingredient to seriously, practically overcoming fear of street photography. Another mindset shift that I adopted is to be a tourist in my hometown. By being a tourist, think about a tourist, right? A tourist wakes up in the morning. They're always eager to catch the sunrise. They're eager to go out there and see their town and see the city. And, by adopting this mindset, I see my city with fresh eyes each day. I approach life with curiosity and wonder. When I'm on the streets, I love reading the plaques and looking at the historic buildings. And, I think that there's something about the approach of a tourist as a photographer also. You see them with their cameras photographing the historic landmarks. They're usually looking up, photographing buildings. They're looking around with their iPhones. They're photographing with their LCD screens. This, I believe, is a technique that we can adopt on the street in order to become more stealthy. And so I'll be sharing with you a behind the scenes video shortly, how I cultivated this technique in practice. And so essentially, when I'm photographing using my Ricoh GR and I'm on the streets, I almost act as if I'm photographing the background a lot of the times. By holding my LCD screen in front of me and photographing this way, it actually becomes less intrusive. The more obvious you are when photographing, the less intrusive it actually appears to be, because you almost just look like you're one of those tourists on the street photographing different things. And it allows me personally to get closer to strangers and to photograph intimately without bruising the scene, without being noticed, And so by avoiding eye contact and looking beyond the subject that you're photographing, it'll appear as if you're almost just making a video or photographing the background like a tourist. And so it's a very practical technique that we're going to look at here in this video, where I walk around my hometown here in Philadelphia, sharing with you the tourist technique. The lookup technique. Right. The idea is you pretend to photograph something else. So, walking through City Hall, it's like there's this big tower above. So let me walk around like this and pretend like I'm shooting above me, right? And then when I'm done doing that, you look down and shoot in front of you, right? Like you look up, oh, I'm looking up, I'm shooting up, and then down in front of you. You look silly, you look stupid, but guess what? It's just this fun technique. Dude. Yo, that's the best camera, man. The disposable camera? Yo, that's the best camera. I've got the Ricoh GR3. Look, oh, cool. Can we do a size comparison?
It's about the same size, yeah.
Bro, this is the best kind of camera, small.
Really? It's just fun.
I learned photography on a disposable camera in Philadelphia. Really? That's literally the exact camera that I would use to shoot.
Cool. Yeah, I got it. CBS somewhere down there.
It's so much fun, right?
It is.
I love the process of just snapshotting. I think that the eyes of an amateur photographer describe what a city is like.
Interesting.
No professional photographers.
Sure. Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah, we'll do.
Snap away. Cool. I don't even use the viewfinder.
Yeah.
It's fun. Just throw that thing around. Okay, so there's a few different things I want to highlight about that video clip and yeah, discuss this sort of technique that I used on the street where I was walking through that tunnel many days in a row here in my hometown, Philadelphia, and I noticed how beautiful it is to photograph in this tunnel. There's always consistent people and traffic. There's beautiful light throughout the year. And so I would photograph in that tunnel, and I wanted to find a way for me to photograph in there endlessly. And I always noticed how there's tourists that stop in the tunnel and they photograph, and you know, the building of City Hall is so iconic and there's always tourists in there. And so I essentially started to walk through that tunnel and walk through City Hall like a tourist who's photographing the buildings. And then as I would pretend almost like I'm photographing the buildings with my camera out and very obvious, I would then pan down and photograph candidly as people would walk by me. And I pretty much do this every single day when I walk around Philadelphia during my typical route. And it's really practical and something really useful. And so another thing I wanted to point out is I'm wearing a full purple outfit. I'm extremely bright. You know, I'm extremely flamboyant. I'm very gay and jolly and happy and joyous when I'm on the street. I like engaging with the street in my own way. You know, you don't have to be this stealthy street photographer wearing all black like a ninja, which I sometimes and still do. I love wearing all black clothing, don't get me wrong. But it's also important to highlight how I'm not trying to hide what I'm doing. I'm just trying to ease into the making of the candid photograph is just as easy as possible without hurting anyone, without, you know, bruising the scene, without getting into a confrontation. And so I think that by using the LCD screen this way, you can become stealthier on the street by almost just being like this obvious tourist who's photographing. And another thing I wanted to discuss is as that photograph I made occurred, right? Like I was looking up and then I looked down and I photographed that man. I wound up confronting that man. Like he didn't even notice me that I took a photograph of him because I'm so fluid and stealthy with this technique. But then I approached him because I saw that he had a little disposable camera and I started to just chat with him. You know, I love chatting with people. And, you know, I think that through building courage and cultivating this confidence, you'll be able to go out there without fear of confrontation. You'll be able to go out there and have conversation and build social skills and just build rapport with people. And yeah, it was a fun interaction. And, you know, I really do believe that it's the eyes of the amateur that will describe what it was like to live in your city. And so I like to adopt this tourist approach very wholeheartedly, as I believe that amateur mindset, that child's mind, is something that we should possess as photographers. Just as a sort of side note. However, let's get back to the video. And so if you are confronted, you know, if somebody is upset that you made their photograph, you know, this happens. To me, it happens far and few between. I'm not going to lie. I can maybe count 3 times in the past 2 years. One time I was photographing like buildings and somebody was like confused. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel. Type in NPC street photography confrontation. It's kind of hilarious. And then this I'm going to share with you a video behind the scenes of me getting confronted where I was walking along the Schuylkill River Trail in the early mornings where I like to do weight training, and I put on this 40-pound plate carrier and I go for these long marches during the early morning of dawn before the sun's even up. And so I'm in a very dangerous situation actually when I got confronted in this situation, and ultimately the outcome was I remained calm. I was polite. I wasn't scared. I'm very used to having myself be confronted at this point. And so I offered to delete the photo, you know, and so you'll see in this confrontation that I'll share with you soon that I got through this confrontation very quickly. You want to remain calm and polite. Don't have any banter. Don't get into a long-winded confrontation and talk about the law and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Just delete the photo and move on. There's a million more photos for you to make. I think that when you are confronted, keep it as brief as humanly possible. Do not escalate, right? That's the key. Don't add, what did they say? Don't add flames to the fire. You know, don't make it a heated debate. Don't upset anybody. Just move on. Stay calm, stay polite. And I think that this video you're about to see is perfect because I'm in the dark. I'm photographing in a very strange and dangerous situation because there is nowhere for me to turn or go. I could have been confronted with the man with a knife or gun, who knows? And so we'll get into the video in a moment here. There's another practical sort of tip in order to keep the conversation brief that I think is funny because it's a lie. But you can just use the "I'm a student," as an excuse. Just tell people, "Oh, I'm a student. I'm just working on a project. Sorry, I'm going my way. I can delete the photo if you want." Just keep the conversation brief. And the excuse of being a student is actually, I think, pretty clever. And so we're going to go ahead and look at this confrontation that I encountered along the Schuylkill River here in Philadelphia, bright and early. It was around 5 a.m. where I go for these early morning walks, and I get confronted, and I wind up deleting a photograph. So use this as an example of how to deal with confrontation. Watch how I deal with this. I'm not bothered by it at all. I'm very kind and polite. It doesn't faze me. And I actually believe that, I can actually even practice a panning shot. That's kind of cool. Maybe they're just experimental, but I actually quickly adjusted my snap focus to 3.5 meters. And so actually on my recent trip to Coney Island, on the boardwalk, there's just chaos, which is great, don't get me wrong, but I prefer to photograph on the beach itself. And I'm gonna get into a confrontation right now. This is perfect. What's up, bro? I'm doing a little video in the morning about photography. What's up, bro?
You just put me on the camera, bro?
It's like this experimental photo. It's kind of like a motion.
So close, bro.
It's like a.
And I don't even know you, but
no, I'm just saying.
2 feet. 2 feet. Just.
I was just showing you the photograph. You can't actually see yourself.
No, bro. Can we delete that, John?
Yeah, no problem.
You man, like right now?
Yeah, it's.
Or it's gonna go against the copyrights?
No, it's not gonna go against the copyrights.
It might.
It's all deleted right there. Delete one image. Boom.
And that's not a camera either?
No, I'm just recording my audio.
Oh, it's just audio?
Yeah, I'm just talking. I'm just doing a video about photography, bro. You too, man. Cheers. And so, essentially, when I was in Coney Island, there was this And so as you could see in that video clip, I got confronted. I was thinking, I saw the guy coming by, and I was thinking to myself, I could do one of those like panning shots or whatever. And so, yeah, I essentially got confronted. He had the flashlight. He was probably recording a video of me, blah, blah, blah. He was very aggressive, right? You could see he was very angry and upset, stay away, 2 feet, whatever. But I was just trying to show him the back of the LCD screen as I deleted the photo so I could simply move on and enjoy the rest of my morning doing my weight training. And yeah, honestly, maybe a side note is if you start lifting weights, that too is just a very practical thing. It builds your confidence. And by wearing a weighted vest where I have these 20-pound plates on the front and back of my body, I'm essentially working on my posture. My spine is tall. I got my head up, my shoulders back, and I have this weight pressing down on my shoulders. And I don't know, I think it builds confidence through training with weights. And so I was joking with, not joking, but just, I wasn't serious, right? I wasn't trying, I was just like, dude, I'll just delete the photo, kind of smiling, laughing, whatever. Because it's not, I believe that if you're just playful, you just play it off. Like it's actually really easy to deal with confrontation. Hopefully this video is a good example. This is just one that I have happened to record. And so street photography, it's about courage, right? And I believe ultimately the closer you get to humanity, the closer you get to people, the more powerful your photographs will be. And so in order to get closer, in order to actually engage with humanity, both physically close and emotionally close, we need to become more confident. And so once again, photography has nothing to do with photography. It has everything to do with how you engage with humanity. If you're on the sidelines of life, photographing from across the street with a telephoto lens, fearful and shy, well, your photographs will reflect that. But if you're confident and you're courageous and you're close with a wide angle lens and you're engaging with humanity, well, your photographs will reflect that courage in the images that you make. And so, are you on the sidelines of life or the front lines of life. In order to be on the front lines of life and to make these photographs that I am sure you want to make, you're going to have to be confident and cultivate courage. And so here's a photograph I made in Baltimore of a house fire. And so one of the philosophical ideas about my photography is that I look to champion humanity. I look to uplift humanity to a new height, and I treat the subjects within my photographs as heroes in the frame. And so like these boys, we too should be our own hero to go out there with courage. And so once again, a final thought, confidence will actually increase your ability to make better photos. And just have the adventure of a lifetime. Like photography, it's an adventure. It's a journey. All you really need to do is set your body in motion without any preconceived notions of what you will find. Treat the camera as the passport, as the key to unlock the doors to the multifaceted complexities of life. There's so many experiences to have. There's so much to do, to see, to explore, and to photograph. And so in order to photograph, you have to be out there engaged with life. In order to photograph people, you're going to have to get close to humanity. So build your confidence, lead with courage and curiosity at the forefront, and your photographs will reflect that back at you. And so hopefully some of the thoughts I have in this video will help you along your journey of conquering fear in street photography. Remember that fear is normal. I still feel fear to this day in some situations. But by being confident in what you do, by recognizing that your photography matters and going out there with courage, I think that you can mitigate these feelings of fear and conquer the streets. And so I'm going to finally end the video here with a very fun video. Just don't take yourself so seriously. Enjoy the streets. Enjoy engaging with people and life and photographing humanity. And embrace the spirit of play. You really don't have to I think if you're taking yourself too seriously, that's where you're going to become confronted. I think if you're playful and you're engaged with this playful spirit, you'll be able to go out there and have more success and to actually go out there and conquer your fear. So here's just a quick little video clip of how I engage with people on the streets and have playful banter. Wow, this woman's dress is like really flowy. I think that the wind from the maybe the subway underneath was blowing it up, or maybe just the wind generally. It was really beautiful to see. That's so beautiful. The way that the dress. You're the star today. There goes the subway.
Yeah, and that's heat too, the steam. So when you cold, you
it's warm, yeah. Today's a chilly day.
yeah,
Say-
and this is, they steam.
That's so-
Anywhere you see this at,
Yeah, it's always warm. Hey, have a great day. Good morning. And so, I'm headed towards the Masonic Temple. So you could see in that video, right, I made a candid photo of her as she came by. I recognized the way the dress was blowing in the wind, and then after I made the photograph, I just complimented her and just had a conversation with her. And it's just, I think street photography is so fun. Life is so fun. Don't take yourself so seriously, and ultimately you can overcome your fear of street photography. And so, thank you for watching this video. If you want to learn more about my photography, you can visit dantesisifo.com. If you click on the Start Here page, I have a post about how I mastered street photography. I go into some of the photo books that have inspired me, and there's some resources here that maybe you can use to learn. I've got my contact sheets. You can download these or view the blog post and see the behind the scenes of how some of my photographs were made. Actually, the photograph that was on the cover of this video of conflict, I believe is in this. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so you can actually see the context sheet of me photographing at this scene. And check it out if you want. A good question to ask is, how much courage did it take for you to press the shutter? These are the questions that I ask myself when I look at the photographs that I've made. I think courage is something that we should put at the forefront of our practice. And so once again, thank you for watching the video. Go out there and conquer the streets.